Welcome to one and all to another episode of Common Sense Paranormal Radio. I am your host with the most ghosts, Rick Hale. Thank you once again for joining us. As you recall, last week I did not do a show because my family and I had traveled to the great state of Virginia to visit with my aunt and my uncle and my cousins. A good time was had by all. So I know that my aunt listens to the show. Actually, she's probably the only person who actually listens to this show because, she just loves me that much. Thank you, Aunt Donna. Thank you, Uncle Decilio, or Uncle Doc as we call him, for your hospitality and for welcoming our family once again into your home. So, everyone, yes, I know we all say everyone, but everyone, thank you so much again for coming back. You must have liked something about the show once before that kept you coming back again. So thank you for that. So it has been a interesting last couple of days for me here at the worldwide headquarters of Common Sense Paranormal Radio. So my wife, Jamie, her brother, and his two kids have been here visiting. So last Thursday, they wanted to go to Six Flags Great America, which is a theme park in Gurnee, Illinois, which is, I would say, maybe roughly 40, 50 miles just north of Chicago. And, oh my God, it was so unbearably hot, and it was just, couldn't walk around anymore. Something did. However, something did happen, and it was amazingly interesting because it wasn't just me that saw it. It was a mass sighting. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There was a mass sighting just outside one of the largest theme parks in the United States, if not the world. So we're leaving the park, which we call it the exit ride because it's probably the greatest ride in the park. And as we're walking to the car, all of a sudden I hear a kid yell, "Look, y'all, a UFO." And he's pointing up to the sky. So I look up, and sure enough, there is this object hovering. I don't even want to venture a guess as to how high above the ground that is because I know that human perception with that kind of thing is not accurate. But I will say this: the sky, the lights in the parking lot are pretty tall, and it was just a little bit over the parking lot lights. Anyway, so I look up, and there's this object, and now it's kind of S-shaped, maybe shaped like a 5, maybe shaped like a 2, I don't know, but it looks S-shaped to me, and it's just hovering in the sky, and it's turning, and it's turning on its own axis, and it's staying stationary, making no sound whatsoever. It was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen, and I've actually had a few sightings in my life. I will get to those if you are interested in that. So I'm watching this thing, and it's just staying there, stationary, not moving, nothing. Dozens of people are looking up, and they're seeing this thing hovering there. So I took a video of it, took some pictures of it, and I shared it to not only my Facebook page at Rick Hale, I also shared it to the group page for Common Sense Paranormal Radio. So everybody can come to that and see it if that's what you so choose to do. And I got some interesting feedback on it. Now, some people say that it's a balloon. That is an S-shaped balloon, or it's a 2, or it's a 5. Now, here's the thing about balloons. It was kind of breezy that day. So a balloon would float away or move. This object stayed stationary for several minutes, for several dozen people to see this thing. Now, I'm willing to accept that it is possibly a drone. But over the last year or so, maybe 2 years, there have been some mystery drone sightings that have been seen just off the east coast of here in the United States. And Robert Young, who is a very respected paranormal investigator, as well as a MUFON investigator, which is the Mutual UFO Network over in Britain, commented on it, and he had some really interesting things to say. He said that he is the one that pointed out, of course I've already seen it, he pointed out that it is definitely moving on its own axis, and it's just hovering there soundlessly. He did say that many of these objects have been seen in conjunction with many other UFO sightings, not just here in the United States or in the UK, but also around the world. And there have been a lot of them. So much so that the United States government had actually launched an investigation into it and said, we're not willing to say that it's from another world, but we don't know what they are. They're not ours. They're not somebody, they're not some other government. So if they don't belong to us and they don't belong to any other government of the world, to whom do they belong? So I pose that question to you, and I ask you to please go to the group page. Join it. There you will see many things that I have written over the years, as well as old episodes of Common Sense Paranormal Radio, as well as this video. So this is not my first sighting of a UFO over the years. Just a couple of years ago, my son and I, we were going to the library here in our the local library here in our town, and we both saw what was a shimmering ball of light hanging up in the sky. You could tell that it was metallic with a rotating light on it. My son took video and took pictures of it, and we watched this thing as it disappeared, and then we could see this silver streak go across the sky, and then it reappeared again before it just poof vanished. Again, this is another one of those that's not a ghost. That is actually my teenage son who haunts my house, opening the door. She's fine. Just close the door. Sorry. You're fine. So, again, this is another one of the objects that have been seen throughout the last couple of years. Many people would say it's a drone. Many people would say that it is definitely a UFO. Now, I presented this evidence to a friend of mine, Brandon Burton, who was actually a former MUFON investigator. He has since retired, and he said it was an airplane. It was a bad sighting, and it was an airplane that was caused by atmospheric distortion. I got to tell you something, guys. I live near O'Hare Airport. I am actually in the flight path of O'Hare Airport. I'm about 40 minutes away from one of the busiest international airports in the world, and I know a plane when I see one. Been seeing it my whole life, living in the Chicagoland area, and I can tell you something, that was no plane. So, third sighting. This one happened when I was a teenager and I was in high school. A friend of mine and I, we were hanging out one Saturday night behind a local elementary school in Lake County, Illinois, in Round Lake, actually. And while we were back there, all of a sudden we see three bright lights just poof, turn on. One was red, one was blue, one was white. And they just hung there in the sky. There was nothing around that we would be able to say, oh, well, yeah, okay, that is a light of some kind, or that is an airplane or whatever. No. These lights were just hanging in the sky. And we watched these things for a few minutes before they just, again, poof, disappeared. Lights in the sky is probably one of the most common forms of UFO or UAP phenomenon that people have been reporting ever since the modern UFO era began in 1947 with the sighting of Kenneth Arnold over a mountain range in Washington State. And ever since then, people have been seeing these strange lights and these strange metallic balls and whatever it was that I saw that was hovering in the sky. So go over to the group page for Common Sense Paranormal Radio. Check that video out. Become a member. Let me know what you think. So, moving on to a rather controversial subject, especially in our day and age. Throughout our entire lives, we have been told that there are two things that you do not discuss in polite conversation. We have been told, one, you do not talk about religion because you're going to wind up offending somebody, because there are literally thousands of religions in the world with millions or billions of different people who worship dozens of different gods. So I'm totally down with that. I do not like discussing religion. It is not a favorite subject of mine. The second subject that many of us are told that we should not be talking about is, of course, politics. Oh, God, it's just, even just the idea of me bringing this subject up on a paranormal show would probably send many people running to the hills. And I get it, man. Politics are everywhere. They have infiltrated our way of life. There are some extremely divergent ideology in the United States of America, as well as even in the UK. They're experiencing their own divergent political beliefs. And unfortunately, it's infiltrated so much in life and so much in the world, and it has infiltrated the paranormal. So now I will admit, I am very much a center kind of person. I have views that go just to the right of center, and I have many, many views that are just left of the center. And many people in the paranormal can go very, very right or very, very left. Somebody once told me that socially I'm very liberal, but with the paranormal I'm very, very conservative. That's I would have to agree with that. There are certain ways that I do my research and my investigation that is very conservative. But here's the thing about politics. It's a very ugly subject. And unfortunately, it causes a lot of hard feelings with many people. You have many people on the right who mock and insult people on the left, but you also have a lot of people on the left who do that to the people on the right as well. And it causes a lot of division, and it causes a lot of problems. And it shouldn't be touching the paranormal, because the paranormal is one of those subjects. It's a very human subject. It knows no politics, should know no religion, because it is something that happens to us all. And it infiltrated the show, the last show that I was on. The Shadow Initiative, which became a different show, Paranormal 360, The Other Side. And myself and the other host, believe me, I wish him well. I mean, I hope that he's doing well, and I hope that he is, moving on with our old show, the way it happens. But a lot of people wonder what it was that happened. So here's what happened. I put up a post criticizing a certain current president, which is my right as an American citizen. I have a right to talk shit about anybody and talk shit about any political figure that I would like. I was also very critical of Biden. I thought he was too old to be in that position, and I thought that he made a lot of missteps. So I put this post on my Facebook page, and my old co-host took a great deal of exception to it. He and I, we had an agreement that we would be friends and we would not allow that kind of stuff to tear what we had, our creative partnership apart. Unfortunately, it did. Eventually it did. And I do miss doing the show. I do miss him as a friend. It was, I think he's actually a pretty decent guy. And I really would never want to say anything too bad about him. But to all of you that have been wondering, that's what happened. We couldn't see eye to eye. And although we promised that we would never comment on each other's political tirades, I guess you might call it, on our various social media outlets. Unfortunately, that agreement wasn't adhered to, and well, that's why. To those of you who are wondering what happened, that is what happened. And like I said, unfortunately, it is happening across the board in the paranormal community, and it's not just like national politics. It also has a lot to do with the politics of the paranormal as well. A couple weeks ago, I had Stevie Ate on, and we talked a great deal about the Warrens, as well as the New England Society for Psychic Research, and that is where a lot of the paranormal politics come in. It would seem in the paranormal community, or paranormal land, as I like to call it, there is a lot of this. If you don't follow what everybody else is following, if you don't call every evil spirit a demon, if you don't have a great deal of skepticism concerning psychics, if you don't follow the dominant religion that appears to be in the paranormal, which is Christianity, and a lot of what we do gets filtered through that, you are dismissed. You are left out. I honestly cannot tell you how many projects I have been told that I couldn't be a part of because I'm not willing to call every evil spirit a demon. I believe in psychic ability. I have worked with some amazing psychics over the years, one of them being a very old and dear friend of mine, Nancy Laporta. Worked with her for a long time, and I got to say, she is the real deal. While I believe in the phenomenon, I am skeptical of many psychics. In my decades of working in this field, I have met dozens of people who claim to have the gift, but I can count on one hand the people that I believe do. And unfortunately, that is one of the politics of the paranormal. If you don't follow the party line, or if you should, or God help you, you should dare to criticize a paranormal television show or a paranormal celebrity, then you're, pretty much told, well, go to hell. We don't want you on our project. We don't want you doing this. A few years back, actually maybe it was about 6 or 7 years ago, I was contacted by a television producer. And they listened to my shows, they read my books, read all the articles that I had written, and were very interested in having me possibly be on a television show. Now, being in the paranormal and being on television, that's not the end all be all of why I do this. I was doing this long before there was ever this huge amount of television shows that we have now. And I told them two things, and those two things is, one, I am a disabled person, and we're actually going to get to that and talk about that a little bit to wrap up the show today. I'm a disabled person, I am missing a leg, lost it to cancer a few years ago, and I walk with a prosthetic limb. Now, I can't believe that anybody would have too much of a problem with that. I'm a very capable person. Actually, I'm in very good shape. And so, like, there really isn't too much liability involved there. But it was the second thing that I do believe may have excluded me from this project. And that was that I don't believe in demons. Not in the biblical sense of the term. There are many folkloric demons and that kind of thing, but I don't believe in demons in a biblical or mainstream religion sense. You know, the three big religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. I don't believe in demons in that way. So I was right up front. Told him I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to call unpleasant spirits or even a poltergeist a demon, because that is not within me to do something like that. I believe in protecting not only my own integrity, but I also believe in protecting the integrity of this community as well as the field of paranormal research and investigation. And I sent him this email and, really hoping and waiting to hear something back, and crickets. Nothing. There was never a return email. I even emailed them back and asked them, hey, you guys still interested? Because I know I am. And again, nothing. Fine, whatever. But this is the politics of the paranormal. You have to follow the party line. Don't step out of that party line. And if you do, if you should criticize the television shows, if you should criticize the reigning king of paranormal television, of course I'm speaking of Zach Bagans, or the Warrens or whomever else is popular at the moment, then you're pretty much told, we're not interested, we don't want to have anything to do with you. You are dead to us. And I guess, you could say that that's fine. Hey, I mean, not everybody is that's not what I am in this for. I am in this to learn a mystery, study a mystery, investigate a mystery, learn about it as much as I can. So that is, my spiel on the politics of the paranormal. And to many of my readers and many of my listeners of this show and former listeners, that is why the Shadow Initiative is no more. But as I said before, I do wish Stephen Lancaster the best of luck. I hope that the world gives him everything that he desires. So, to my old best friend, good luck in everything you do. So, changing gears from a rather ugly and unpleasant topic. Politics is not something I really like discussing a whole lot, but I will. So, as I mentioned before during my speech on politics, there was that very first thing that I told those producers. One, I am a disabled person. In 2016, it was discovered that I had a very rare form of cancer called synovial cell sarcoma, and it was stage 4, which means that the next stage is, spreading out of control, and eventually I would have become the thing that I am hunting, a ghost. But the doctor told me, he said that there is a way to save your life, and it is probably not the thing that you want to hear. And I'm like, Doc, I don't want to die. I still got a lot that I have to do, and I don't feel like moving on to the next world just yet. The doctor told me, we have to amputate your leg. So, everybody, This is Lefty. This is... Sorry about that. I thought I put on my shoe. This is the thing that has... One of the things that has saved my life and made my life much better. It's very simple, very easy. I walk on it. The only way you really notice that I even have a prosthetic limb is when I wear shorts. And people are actually surprised. They're like, oh, I thought that you were just a guy who had yourself a minor limp. Nope. I lost my leg to synovial cell sarcoma. And, I live with this disability now. But it's awesome because it's like I get like rock star parking everywhere I go. So, I mean, really, it's not all that bad. Like when we go to places like Great America, we go to the store, I don't always need it. But man, when I have those bad days, I need it. So, where are you going with this, Rick? So it's very simple. When you watch a lot of paranormal TV shows, you see very able-bodied people. You don't see a lot of people with a disability walking around these places searching for ghosts or doing anything that is investigatory. You just don't see it. And I am a big believer in representation matters. I believe that people with disabilities from all walks of life, they can get out there and do this work. I know I do. Haven't really been on an investigation in a long time. It's been, I think the last time I did any kind of investigation was back in the early spring. It's a 2-hour thing. But here's the point that I'm trying to make. We cannot, or I don't, and nobody else should allow themselves to be limited by this. It's one of the things that I like to tell people is I am very fortunate that I have stellar health insurance, and I was able to get a prosthetic limb free of charge. I guess you could say I didn't have to pay a thing, but not everybody is quite so lucky. Some people who are amputees are in a wheelchair, waiting for that time when they'll be able to, get a prosthetic limb or prosthetic leg or a prosthetic arm. So if you do have a disability, if you're an amputee or if you are a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, or if you are deaf, or if you are blind, you should not allow those things to limit you. If you love this work, if you love the paranormal field, if you love going out and looking for ghosts, then by all means do so. Be smart about it, of course, but don't allow your disability to keep you from doing this. Fortunately for me, I have this prosthetic limb, and I can, walk for hours and hours on end before I even so much as need a break. However, not others are quite so lucky. You have some people with disabilities who are in wheelchairs. They are paraplegic or quadriplegic. You have people who are deaf. You have people who are blind. You have people who are severely diabetic or any other form of disability. And there are many. Sorry, I was trying to get my leg back on. So how is it that a person with a serious disability, how is it that they can contribute to this field? How is it that they can be involved in it? So it's really quite simple. Let's just say you are a person who is blind. Now, it is a true scientific fact that people who have lost one sense, their other sense is heightened. So if you are blind, your hearing is probably greater than mine and greater than everybody else around you. You could hear a fly fart from a mile away. I mean, that's exaggeration, of course, but I'm sure people who are blind, their hearing is much better. So you could be that person that listens to electronic voice phenomena. You could be that person who listens and you're able to just hear things that nobody else can hear because your sense of hearing is so enhanced. Or say that you are deaf, but your eyesight is fantastic. You could be the person that goes over photographs. You could be the person that goes over video. You could be, or it even goes the same with the person who is in a wheelchair. You could be that person who sits at a base camp and watches for phenomena or activity in various places at a location. And you could be the person that dispatches an investigator there to check it out. Anybody can do this work because, once again, this is work and this is a phenomena that affects us all. And it has affected us all since the beginning of time. Since people understood the concept of death and wondered what happened after that death. You should never allow something like a disability to limit you. You should get out there, do what you can. If you love this field, if you want to be a part of it, you should get out there and contribute. You should get out there and be a part of the action. You can do it. I do it, and so can you. So, that is a very shortened episode this week for Common Sense Paranormal Radio. We talked about visiting my aunt in Virginia, which was fantastic. I had a great time. Thank you, Aunt Donna and Uncle Doc. Talked about a mass sighting of a UFO. Please go over to my go over to the group page for Common Sense Paranormal Radio. Check that out. Subscribe, and there you can see other things and not just the video of this, whatever the hell this was in the sky. We talked about the ugliness of politics, not only in national wise, but also within the paranormal as well. And then we talked about how you, if you are a disabled person, you can be involved. So, that wraps up this week's episode of Common Sense Paranormal Radio. I am your host, Rick Hale. Please come back next week. You never know who is going to drop by here in the worldwide headquarters of Common Sense Paranormal Radio. We may have a guest, may just be myself once again, sitting talking your ear off. Like I said, you never really know. So hey, thank you so much again for joining me here at Common Sense Paranormal Radio. We'll see you next week.